Hi, everyone. I'm Clara, Chief Empowerment and Partnerships Officer in Marber Security. And co hosting with me today, we have Marlon Bermudez, founder and VCISO of Marber Security.
Hello and welcome.
Today, we have a special guest, Shawn Lesser. He is a global mental health advocate and a founder of the Real Mental Health Foundation. With over 30 years of impact investing, he co founded Big Path Capital and now leads a movement with over 350 ambassadors across 30 plus countries, aiming to transform mental health for 10 million and one men by 2030. Shawn, welcome to the Authenticity Journey. Can you share more about yourself?
Share more about myself, sure. And thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. So maybe I just go first with my work resume, just to give you a little piece. I live in Atlanta, but I'm originally from New York. After I went to Syracuse University, then after that, I did 15 years. I did international institutional equity sales, so selling stocks to banks overseas. And then in 2007, like you were talking about it, I co-founded the first impact investing investment bank. So what did we do? We'd raise money for impact and sustainable private equity companies. We'd raise money for private equity funds. We put on different investor convenings. And then for the folks that impact investing might be somewhat new, just think of basically making money and doing good. So you could think of maybe a solar company where it has some makes money and then has some other social or environmental benefit.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for
Of course,
sharing. So it
of
seems
course.
like you're doing so much and involved with so much right now, and that's amazing. Shawn, there's something I'm curious about, and I'm sure everyone
Tell me,
is.
Clara.
What moment in your life made you realize you had to do something bigger around mental health?
Well, there's kind of a mental health story, and I'm happy to roll through it with you a little bit because I gave you my resume, and then on the mental health side, this is also answering your questions. Uh, it was September 22. I was depressed, had trouble eating, have trouble sleeping. I lost 40 pounds, which was amazing, but I was not on a diet. People would be like, "Oh, you look so good. What are you doing?" So depression really is a great dietary supplement for me. I'm just kind of joking. And then the depression was growing. And then it's December 19th. I was on a Zoom call, had like a full mental breakdown, wasn't really functioning, couldn't really speak. I was suicidal, telling my wife, I don't want to be here anymore. Please freaking kill me. So, most wives don't want to hear that.
Absolutely.
Some wives might. I don't know. I'm half joking, but my wife didn't. So that's good. Um,
That's a good.
but I'm now happy to give you more, Clara, if you have any questions on the rest of the story.
Oh, thank you for sharing. So it seems like this whole idea of starting this beautiful movement that you are now, specifically focused on men, and I know it embraces everyone, but the space is for men to feel safe. It seems like it came from your own inner experience, something you were going through, and how you understood the need of having that space. How could that impact you and impact everyone else, right? Was that
Exactly, exactly. And then give you a little bit more of the story. So when we were kind of was in that space, me and my wife, we didn't know what to do, right? Because it's very confusing. So we ended up going to the emergency ward, the hospital here, Emory in Atlanta. They rolled out someone on telemedicine. They ask you all these questions. Then they said, "Do you want to go to the psych ward?" I have no idea what that means, but I know I want to go somewhere. So that's a whole other experience. I'd be happy to talk about that more if you like, being in the psych ward. So was there for 2 days, got out, went home, wanted to go back to work at the company I co-founded, had two other partners. Sometimes things don't work out with partners. So my partners bought me out of my company. Great. I got some money. But my company was my whole identity. It was my whole life. It was my whole existence. And that's a story for a lot of guys. I mean, if they're doing one thing and then there's another, or you could think
right?
of guys in the military, they're in the military, they're not, or even it's a big thing for athletes. This is a constant story of identity. So I kind of lost my identity, and that put me deeper into depression. And then another guy came into the story, and this goes to our foundation. His name is is Brent, and he became what I call, if you think of Alcoholics Anonymous, you have a sponsor, basically a buddy, right? He
Right.
became what I call my mental health sponsor. We were walking, talking, hanging out, and then I went away to 2 treatment centers, one in California, one in Hollywood, Florida, not too far from where you guys are. And I got back a little bit over 2 years ago, and how the real started in the name was then me and Brent, we were talking on the phone, and we're like, dude, that was serious. That was real. I said, yeah, man, that was real. I said, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the real. And then, of course,
Oh,
Clara, he asked me, like, what is it? Yeah. And
yeah.
of course, I said, I have, I have no idea. But I know that there's a lot of men, women, and families suffering, and I think we learn some things that could help them. So there's a lot more to it and what we're doing, but that's just the little of the background.
I'm amazed by it. I think it's a great initiative, and it's making an impact. You're growing so fast, and I think it's beautiful. I've met a few of the ambassadors in your community, and everyone is so excited about what you're doing, and they feel so open. And the beautiful thing is when they hop into a call, they are so authentic and they're so real. They're just giving it all, and they share their experiences with mental health. And I love that. To be honest, I missed that in the world, and I'm so happy that you are creating that safe space. I've never experienced being on a call and being able to be so open about my own mental health, background, and my own struggles, like I
Mm-hmm.
am in your community of men, as I meet them, because everyone is just feeling comfortable about being themselves. And so whatever it is that came into mind as you created that, I have to tell you, it is powerful, and it is making a huge,
Sure.
impact.
And I would say on that, this my story's it's unusual, but it's not unusual. I say that I was at a 10. That's a bad place. But every human being, sometime in their life, they're going to have a struggle. They're going to be at a 2 or 4 or 6 or an 8. That's just your breathing. That's going to happen. So these things are not unusual happening to people. Talking about it, maybe it's a little bit more unusual. But and this is never 1 degree away from anybody. So I've been in a lot of rooms telling the story, like I'm telling you guys. And I say to the people, please raise your hand if you, a family member or a friend, have been negatively affected by mental health. Every single room I've been in, everybody's raised their hand. So this is not, you break your arm, okay, and then the old days they used to sign you cast. You break your brain and you have an issue. It's temporary, and do you have to hide in the corner or be all embarrassed? I don't. Why? So that's how I look at it.
Right. Well, I think it's amazing. I love your outlook, your perception. It's bringing something very positive, not only you know in America, but all over the world, which is what you're reaching right now.
I think real and authentic conversations are not easy to have necessarily. It just depends on the environment. We all go through life and we all have our own journey,
Sure.
challenges, successes, and everything in between. But that human journey, there is an aspect that everyone is going through something that we know nothing about that, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I love what you're doing with the real. Not just gathering people together in different locations of the country and actually the world at this point, but also doing the summit, which is really exciting. We'll see if we're able to meet it to go this summit or the next one, but basically very excited about that. And one of the things is, how can you build community? How can you get closer to other individuals and just have a human conversation, right? Not about money, not about, hey, let's see who has more of this or that, just humans. And that I think is missing a lot in society now. So really appreciate, that sense and that path for you to be able to build authentic connections with individuals. So love that.
And this is not the funny thing is it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing. It's just letting people be themselves. There's no new science here. And maybe I'll give you a little context of the foundation and the kind of the activities and what we're doing if you like. Is that good, guys?
Absolutely.
So and then you could also, if people are listening, you can go to the real.care. You can see a little bit. But the foundation's based on the power of conversation and community, because that helped me a ton. And then it's based on 3 C's. It goes conversation, goes to community, goes to change. So conversations. So the talk I just gave you and is what I call the real talk, kind of just telling you a story, right? And I've done that as an event. I've done it 30, 40 places, and it's more like a conversation where I'll tell the story, I'll stop, and then other people will tell me their stories. I'm not asking them to, they just do. They just feel comfortable. It breaks down the stigma, people feel more comfortable. But the idea there is one guy's telling his story is great, but how about 10? How about 100? How about 1,000? All makes and models. So, yeah, you could put me in, finance category. You could have a marketing, whatever kind of person, and then look at that like a TED talk. So in the future, there's a library where, okay, I just heard from 10 marketing guys, 10 finance guys, 10 attorneys, athletes, whatever, that you can relate to, and think how that could affect and help folks. Because think of a music video, lots of times it's watched a billion times. So that's one way that I think we could reach 10. It's a lot of guys, but 10 million and one men by the end of 2030 is that's one through the conversations. And then the second piece is the community. And that's where and I'll talk a little bit about the ambassadors and stuff. So we have over 350 ambassadors right now. It's growing every day. And like you said in the beginning, they're in 30 plus countries, 6 continents. Um, and community is super important. So on that side, we're working on an app. What is it? It's a work in progress, but one, give guys a safe place where they can talk about this stuff, not feel like they're judged. Yeah. Two, find a mental health sponsor, be a mental health sponsor, be like a buddy. Three, I don't think I should have went to the psych ward, but me and my wife, we didn't know who to talk to, just to have other people to kind of you can ask questions because it's very opaque. And then also people are interested in different modalities, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, psychedelics, all interesting. How do you learn about that stuff? Of course, I'm a sales guy, but I want to learn about it from people in the network. And then finally, the ambassadors. So, what do the ambassadors actually do, right? So, one thing they do, and this is a work in progress, is we do this thing called the Real Walk, where there's the third Saturday of every month. The guys go for a walk. They wear the hats. They take a picture. Why are we doing this? Because there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of division, and it's just a way to get people together. And people look at it a different way. Some guys will walk alone. Some people will walk with 10 people. They work with their wives, their dog, their cat, their wife, their ex-wife. It doesn't matter. And sometimes they'll do different activities. So that's one thing that we do. Another thing that we do, and it's the third Wednesday of every month, and I think Marlon was on the last one, is we do this thing called speed friending, where we had about 80 guys on a call, and we just broke up in the room, 2 or 3 guys, and have a conversation. Are we talking about mental health? Sometimes. Are we talking about nothing? Sometimes. It doesn't really matter. It's just having, just trying to building relationships. And then another thing that we're doing is, since we have ambassadors, we kind of have chapters. We're just calling them embassies, where there's a couple of guys, and Marlon's working on one in a certain area, and then those guys are they're getting together. And I also want to say, the real is not. This is not like a guys thing. Okay, there's so many women that support the real, right? Because what do women want? They want healthy husbands and sons and fathers. So this is not like, oh, it's kind of the opposite. So that's also great to see.
Yes, I think you created the space, and like you said, it's something so simple, but
Mhm.
I think simplicity. Sometimes we like simplicity in things we create. So you created something that's simple, but no one else did. And what I find it beautiful is that you created that mostly. I know you're now on Instagram and other platforms on social media, but you're mostly focused right now on LinkedIn. And what I
Sure.
love about that is that for the most part, men who are afraid of sharing their mental health experiences, they are in business, they have
Hmm.
a business reputation, and they are so afraid of opening up because is this going to impact the way people see me, is this going to impact my career? So
Yeah.
while you're focusing that specifically on LinkedIn, it brought even more power because everyone who's extremely successful is now able to open up. Hey, I'm here and I'm also struggling, or I've been through struggles as well,
Yeah.
and it's safe. It's not impacting them in a negative way. In fact, it's bringing everyone together and giving them even more visibility in a career level.
Yeah, I would add on to that. It's kind of funny when you put it that way because, yeah, and I have lots of calls with guys, and some are like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to be part of this because how are people going to react? I look weak, blah blah blah. This won't be good for my business." But the funny thing is, it's the exact opposite
Yeah.
because so many guys they'll be wearing the hats, they'll be posting a picture, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I got so much business from
Yes.
from." And so many people came to me because you kind of are authentic and real dude that they're like, "Hey, what is this?" So it's funny how it's really the exact opposite of what these people are telling you. But I understand it's could be a little scary. That makes sense.
But just look at the change you've and the impact you've made in the world already.
Mm.
You know, now talking about mental health and opening up about mental health and personal struggles is no longer a taboo. In fact, it enhances your career. It brings you more business, more friendship,
Oh,
a larger community and more visibility. So you shifted all of that, and I
I
think
don't. I'm
that's
not going to take full credit. That's very nice to put that on me. I appreciate it, but maybe we made a small dent. I mean, we're only 350 people
yes.
right now, but it'll grow. But we're getting there.
And
Yeah.
Sean, the other thing that I like about your movement is that it's actually a movement, like at the physical level too. So you're inviting people to go for a walk. So
Sure,
it's a
sure.
movement on multiple layers. So I love that.
Yeah, and then people look at it. It's not. I call it the real walk, but the interesting thing also is it's almost like a blank canvas. I didn't know this was going to happen, but people interpret it differently. Somebody will go for a walk. Some guys playing tennis, pickleball, riding a bike, going fishing, doing yoga. It doesn't really matter, right? And you just see this in the different pictures that they post or the videos. Or one guy was in at Muscle Beach. He's from the LA, so he's doing the LA version. And then the other thing is when you look at the kind of cross section of the guys, I wasn't like, we got to make this super diverse. It's just humans. So there's guys from across the freaking planet, right? There's from all over every continent. There's guys, and then it's nice when they all get to talk to each other. So that's also something interesting that just happened because it doesn't matter what country you're from, what the map says, your religion. It doesn't matter. And I also think that people interpret the real differently, and I'm totally cool with it. Some people will be like, this is about this is peer to peer. Some are like, this is about they're about religion. Fine. Some of them are around exercise. Some of them might be around psychedelics. It doesn't. Everyone's welcome. It's yeah. I think there's plenty on the kind of meat on the bone for everybody. Whatever works for you.
It's embracing everyone as they are, like as in
Sure.
their human level, and I think that's the beautiful part of it. And
Hmm.
another aspect of everything you're doing that I love is the walk, because
Hmm.
walk naturally brings clarity into the mind, right? As
Sure.
in our lives, if we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, we need to go for a walk or we need some level of movement,
Sure.
right? So you're bringing the walk
Hmm.
as the main aspect of this movement. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing because the walk immediately naturally makes you feel mentally well. There's more clarity, you feel more relaxed. It's amazing for your health. So it's life
Yeah.
changing as is. And then as you walk, others come along. So you go for a
Sure.
walk, first day you go on your own. The next time, you bring a friend, and then, oh, another friend comes along. So walk is something that grows, as you
Yeah.
open up the path,
One
if that makes
100%.
sense.
And sometimes it doesn't matter if I mean walk by yourselves, walk with other people. But I think it's also people. Then they post, they share, and they feel like there's something part of something bigger. Because that's another thing people want to be part of is something bigger. And then the other thing is just people are helping out other people. It even happened the other day. We were on the call. One guy, and the call is not all about talking about struggles or whatever. But one guy was talking about his experience and something happened bad in his family, and another guy's like, older guy was like, "Hey, call me later." Right. So it's just there's people that are just like people go through stuff. It's fine, right? And also it's nice when you help somebody else that makes you feel good.
Yes, I think when we help someone, it's improving the life of the other person, but for the most part, it makes us feel good. It makes us feel
Both
empowered,
sides.
and
All
yeah,
right.
it's a great feeling. Sean, I have
Mm-hmm.
a question for you.
Go for it.
We
Go ahead.
know that naturally, as humans, in this modern society we live in, we all walk through this life, with a mask or holding ourselves together, but a lot of times hiding who we really are or
Sure.
performing, right? We all perform. We perform in the business level, we perform in our lives. But I know the world is changing and you're being part of this change as well. And we're now detaching from that performance and bringing in more the real, right? The real life, the real aspect of ourselves. So my question is, when did you stop performing and actually started living in full alignment with who you really are?
This is a hard question, but I'll answer it. So let's first go backwards. Just kind of, I'd have depression from time to time, 20s, 30s, 40s. It would kind of come, it would go. But in general, I'm have happy guy. It was doesn't like, oh my God, this is my life is horrible. It's not like that at all. Just kind of certain times it would just come and it would go.
Right.
And this specific time, I didn't really get into what happened, but kind of, I think it was a couple of things. I happen to have COVID. I'm not blaming COVID, but it's almost like you put multiple things on your shoulders. It was COVID. It was I'm getting older. Who am I? What am I? These were no things that no one else has. Yeah, but it's almost like someone said. It's almost like a volcano that just erupts. There's too much pressure, and then the thing kind of explodes. And not even when I let's call it a breakdown, my brain kind of got to that part where it's like, all right, this thing ain't working anymore. Sorry, buddy, we're shutting this down. So that was kind of the thing that happened to me, and then there was a lot of pain, right? When I was in the psych ward, that was horrible, and when I was in the treatment centers, it was so horrible. But in a certain way, the pain was a gift. That's hard to say, but the pain's a gift because it kind of hit the reset button. That okay, here's what happened, and it was more for me. It's more not changing the lenses in my glasses. It wasn't anything like I gotta go sit on top of a mountain, which you could sit on the mountain if you want, but it was just like okay, I gotta refocus, and there's certain things that I learned right, and I'm happy to go through those. But those that might give you a little insight, Claire.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's actually an amazing response. And when you bring that COVID, when you brought up COVID, I think COVID
I'm not
impacted all
blaming
of us.
COVID, but
No,
of course it was a
it
percent
was a
some of it.
turnaround. When it reminds me because I also had a huge turnaround in my life when
Sure.
COVID first hit.
Yeah.
So I was in an abusive relationship back then,
Hmm.
but on top of that, I got COVID, and from becoming very sick with COVID, I started
Hmm.
having massive panic attacks. And even
Sure.
after I was healed with COVID, panic attacks became part of my life. So think about
Yeah.
being in an abusive relationship, having fibromyalgia, which I deal with it 24/7,
Uh huh.
and panic attacks. So it was a
Yeah.
very overwhelming moment for me. And I've always been, I'm not against, but I've always struggled with the part of like psychiatric medication, which I talk about it naturally
Hmm.
today, but I couldn't do it, right? So I kept fighting the everyone
Sure.
finds their own resources, and I was a
Yeah. Yeah.
yoga instructor as well. So I felt, I was constantly having panic attacks driving, stopping my car, and I was like at the verge of a really mental breakdown. And it
Sure.
was during that COVID phase. So it reminds me of, of that moment because I've always been authentic and I've always tried to be as real as I could. But I
Hmm.
think before COVID, I wasn't as real and living in alignment with
Sure.
who I truly am as I
Right.
am now. I think that moment when I started having, literally a mental breakdown and found myself on my own and overwhelmed,
Yeah.
all the suffering, the pain that I went through, I'm not going really deep in it right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
but everything I went through kind of changed me. I wanted to be real and authentic. Hey, I'm experiencing panic attacks and this is who I am. This is
It's
what's
okay.
happening to me.
Sure.
And yes,
Sure.
I'm still a yoga instructor. I'm still, into the mindfulness world and I
Yeah.
help other people, but I'm having my own moment and there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that until till, I think it was that day that things turned around for me. Until this day, I've been living a more aligned, authentic, real life, as we
Sure,
call the real, like more open, about everything else, all these aspects of our mental health and our physical bodies that we tend to hide because it seems, embarrassing or overwhelming, or the fear of judgment. I think I became a very open person. Like, okay, it doesn't
sure.
matter what people think. It feels lighter on my shoulder, and I
Yes,
feel like I can just be myself, regardless of, my circumstances, or the moments I'm having, which can still happen, because, the are us, as humans, we have like ups and downs, so we rise and we fall. So it's not like you overcome, your mental health issues forever. They're still there.
no,
You
no.
manage, right? You're
Yeah, yeah,
managing.
yeah, 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 yeah.
What's your
No,
opinion about that? Not
no,
fully
I agree.
overcoming and
Yeah, yeah, it's not like overcoming them. You're gonna have shit comes up all the time. That's just gonna happen. But you're a little bit more, you can handle it better, right? And I'm not saying I'm like, oh, I went to the mountaintop and now I'm a perfect person and I'm sitting here, in the lotus position. Yeah, but my mind is just calmer. Where before, I think my mind it was, and it's interesting because I'll speak to guys. I mean, that's also digressing a little bit of the power of the real. If you could say to someone, "Listen, dude, woman, man, doesn't matter. I know exactly how you feel. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to take a shower, and maybe you think you don't want to be alive, and you
right.
think that shit's never going to end. But I can tell you 100% that that's going to end. And I know exactly how your mind feels. Especially I was speaking to a guy yesterday, and I said, I know exactly how you feel. You're trying to go to bed, your head is spinning, and you just can't. This machine just won't shut off, and you can't stop it. And just kind of learn some things that help me. Like one is, no, you can't stop it. Don't even try to stop it. Just know that it's going to do that. So there's just certain things to just reframe things in your mind to help you uh, through those things. But it's going to happen, and no one's perfect. Yeah, just because I started this thing, yeah, lots of shit happens to me, but I'm just handling it a little bit better. And I just again
Yeah.
looking back, looking at again going to the glasses, just looking at it, trying to look at it through a different set of glasses. That's all.
Yeah, I love that, and that's why this community, I think
Hmm.
it's still going to happen here and there. Life changes, the
Oh yeah,
circumstances changes, the way we feel, our body changes, our health
sure,
changes, and it
sure.
does impact us mentally. So, and
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong. But now we can share. Now there's the safe space that you.
And we're not talking about this constantly with guys. It's not like, oh, women and men they're different. Men meet shoulder to shoulder, women meet face to face. Guys have a different pressure. Both have pressure, right? Both have issues. But most guys are loners. They don't want to talk about this shit, right? And they
Yeah.
have a pressure that I gotta kill the bear, bring it home, that kind of stuff. And so and men are going to talk about this differently. They're not going to. A woman once part of the reel. She goes, "The reel is a place where guys can talk about their feelings." And when she said that, I wanted to throw up because guys don't talk like that. We say we've gone through some shit or some stuff happened.
Yeah.
It might be the same exact thing, but it's just that's women will talk differently. Yeah, and it's like the men from Mars, women from Venus kind of thing. It's just
Yes.
both have stuff, but it's just a little bit different language.
We share it differently.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
And I think it's all about perspective. And for me, one thing that has helped me with perspective throughout my life is a couple years back, maybe 5, 6 years ago, I started doing live audits. I found out the concept online from a book from Patrick Bet David, and I found that very, very engaging. More from like, okay, what have I done with my life until now? And I started doing it on my birthday specifically because it's a really
Hmm.
good point to evaluate my life. So every year I take that as a growth exercise at the personal
Hmm.
level, professional level, business level,
Hmm.
and in every aspect. Like, am I a better person today than I was last year? I'm not. That's the first layer. Am I enjoying more about life than I did last year? And to me, one of the things that I found is meaning and purpose and the type of joy, whatever brings you joy. And it's not just about happiness, because happiness is temporary. And one of the things that I found out just throughout my life is authentic human connection and just real conversations. And that's why
Sure.
when we first spoke, I really resonated with your
Hmm.
movement. So I really
Hmm.
appreciate that you're doing that.
Well, it's our movement because one guy is not a movement, right? It's the people.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, one guy is just, it's like a spark, right? And then you want the fire to go. And even the real, so many guys are having conversations. I have known nothing about them. That's terrific. That's wonderful, right? Just kind of start the dominoes.
And I think it's important to recognize that mental health is an important factor, regardless of the socioeconomical status, regardless of the gender. It's something that impacts everyone. So basically, one of the things that we have to figure out is how can we build deeper conversations, deeper connections, and you're doing that with your platform.
I'm going to tell you a little story on that, if it's okay. So I didn't really talk about this part, but I was talking about the story and going to start the reel. We didn't know what it was. So the first thing I did, and LinkedIn is always my default. I went out on LinkedIn and I sent a message to like 30,000 people. I was in a bad place. I'm starting this thing called the reel. Then I hit the button. That was scary. But so many people came back. So many people were super supportive. I became a mental health sponsor like Brent, not a therapist or anything. But like I said before, telling someone, I know exactly how you feel, man. I know exactly. And then one guy hit me. It was a guy, we talked about it before when we first talked. I got Ron Diamond, and he's from a group called Tiger 21. Tiger 21 is like a super high net worth group. And he says, can you come and speak to the group? I say, sure. So me and my friend Brent went to go speak to the group June 5th. There were super high powered guys in this room. And we're telling the story like I was telling you. And 10 minutes in, hands go up, right? Because this affects everyone. And then I left that meeting, and the event was in Chicago, and I was taking the Uber back to the airport. And I don't know if you know Chicago, there's two airports. There's Midway and O'Hare. I flew into Midway. I figured I'm flying back out of Midway. So I got into the Uber, and I had my phone on speaker, and there was a young African American guy there, and I was telling someone the story like I was telling you, the real story. And when I was done, the guy says to me, he goes, listen, sorry, I was listening. And I was like, pal, we're the only ones in this car, and it's kind of a small car. Don't worry about that. And then he says, there's a reason why you're in my car. And I go, yeah, what's going on? And he goes, he's been having, suicidal ideations, which means kind of thinking about suicide, which is not, it sounds scary, all that stuff, but this is not so unusual. Lots of humans do that. I don't know the percentages, but it's a large percent. So we had like a really great chat. Yeah. And then he took me to the airport. We got out of the car, hugged. It was really nice. But you think about that day. One minute I'm with these like super high powered business dudes. Next minute I'm with the guy in the Uber. It doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter at all. The funny thing was when he dropped me off at the airport, then I went to the TSA and I was trying to get through. And I gave the guy my license 3 times. And he goes, listen, sorry, you went to the wrong airport. So but if I didn't go to that airport, I might have not met that guy. I still met my plane. But more my point is, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter. It's human condition. Yeah.
Very nice story, and it reminds us that regardless of our economical
Yeah, it
status,
doesn't matter.
mental health embraces everyone and
Sure.
welcomes everyone.
And Sharon, when we think of legacy, most of our minds, just in general, historically, tends to go to automatically wealth, right? So in
Of course.
private capital, private wealth, we're always the main focus is dollar signs, or whatever the currency might be. But in your case specifically, what do you hope your legacy would be? Let's say 50 years from now, 100 years from now, when people are reading from the storybooks.
No one's going to remember me 50 years or 100 years from now. And that's okay. They don't remember most people. But if I could help some folks, that's wonderful. You know, terrific. So I don't. Yeah, that's. Or I help the father of a grandfather or whatever, of some kid or whatever. Wonderful. That makes me feel good.
I think in terms of legacy, I think your legacy is more on helping others. So just paying it forward and just helping, other people find their path a little bit. So
Yeah, and the other thing
that's
is,
very helpful.
kind of you pass these things on. I help you, and then you help somebody else, and I see it all the time. And then even sometimes I might help someone, then all of a sudden, like Clara was saying, things change, and then I need help. Right? So it's not a one way street at all.
Right.
Uh, it's going two ways all the time,
No.
and you never know.
Sean, since leading this amazing movement for men, I know it's embracing everyone, and women are very excited about it. I'm personally very excited, and I'm going on the walks as well. Um, I have a quick question. What do you think is the biggest myth men believe about strength and mental health? Because I know it has always been a struggle for men to open up.
Yeah, if I talk about any of this shit, I'm gonna look weak, and they're gonna think I'm a loser, and I can't do my job, and that kind of stuff. That's kind of the the thought process, right? And then that causes fear, and yeah, that's what I say is probably the most the biggest myth.
We were talking the other day what someone I can't remember his name now, from your community, and he mentioned something very powerful about how our culture have have impacted the way men feel when it comes to, oh, you have to be a man, you can't cry, you can't,
Sure,
you cannot show
sure.
emotions, you can't be weak, you have to be the provider, you have to, you know so I thought that was a great point he made, because this is one of the reasons why men took so long to be able to
Sure.
open up, to cry, to show emotions, and they struggle more with mental health.
If you look at like suicide rates, it's something like three times as many men. Blah blah blah. And I should tell you, there's another side to the reel, because there's the side of, yeah, there's the finance side. So one of our other goals is to help move $10 billion of new capital into mental health, because I come out of the finance space, specifically around impact investing, and I saw how impact investing make money and do good. I saw how that space grew from kind of nothing to $1.5 trillion dollars, something crazy. So I think the mental health on the investment side is somewhat similar in that there's a lot of buzzwords. Where do you go? What do you do? Can you make money? Etc. So we're also putting on these different, I call them the real summits, the intersection of finance and mental health. We did the first one in New York City at Deutsche Bank's headquarters last October. Then we did one in Davos, Switzerland. Then we did one in London, and we're doing the next one in New York City again. And this is how you. And this is not just for men, right? This is just mental health in general, and across the board, right? And looking at different, because what it's more what works for me might not work for you, or is not going to work for your son or your mom. But there's all kinds of flavors and things that could help people. So how do you move more capital into that? And then the other side of it is I look at the real, as a lifestyle brand, yeah. Or how do you make the invisible visible? Okay, so that's the branding. That's the hats. That's you guys are going on a walk, right, in Florida, and then in the future, and you'll wear the hat, the shirt, whatever it is. In the future, you'll be walking, and someone else will be walking the other way, and they'll be wearing the brand. You look at them, they look at you. You don't got to say anything. You just know mental health affects people. So, and now we have 350 guys in 30 countries wearing the hats and stuff. So that's a goal. There is try to have 1,000,001 folks wearing the sporting the gear or the brand by 2030. Right. That's another way just to make the invisible visible. So that I look at the real as also as a brand.
As we get closer to the end, and you're talking about that right now, what does being real actually mean to you? Not as a brand. It is a brand, but not only as a brand, but as a way of life. How could
Well,
would you
first I'll
describe
say
that with, one or two
it's
words?
it's what it means to
What
me
does the
can
real
mean
actually
something
mean to
totally
you?
to somebody else, and that's fine. That's the nice thing is I'm not the judge and jury of what it means, right? Marlon might think it's something else, and that's the beauty of it. To me, it's kind of trying to be comfortable in your own skin, yeah, being trying to be yourself. That's hard to do. That's not easy, but just being comfortable, being who you are, and that's what I think being realist. But people, like I said, I'm not the owner of the word the real. It can open to all kinds of interpretations.
For me personally, one of the things I love is authenticity, and that aligns with real conversations and real connections. And as Clara and I started doing business together a little while back, and we go to all these networking events, we found out a lot of superficial connections. Basically, you go to a networking event, whatever that might be, and you get a lot of different business cards. And the issue with that is, at the end of the day, there is a lot of transactional expectations. Where is the real human connection? Where is the real interest in getting to know the other person? So for us, that's why we started the authenticity journey, and that's why we started this forum, because it's a human capital forum, and it's not just a podcast where we're trying to do a little bit for the community. We're trying to do other things too, but at the end of the day, just coming back to being humans, to coming back to, like, okay, how do we recenter in this age where people are not even talking to each other anymore? They're all on their phones. You could be in a room and, I don't know, 5 6 years ago, people would be having conversations, and now we're all on our phones. So trying to regroup on that human connection, that's part of our passion as well.
So less
Well,
phones and
here's the
more
nice
walks,
thing:
maybe.
when you do that, it actually helps your business. It's not like it hurts your business, because if you have stronger relations with people, they're gonna you're gonna be clients. They're gonna buy more stuff. Whatever. It's gonna they have because business is about trust. So if you have trust and you have a good relationship, you can do
Yep.
Yes.
whatever. So it's not like, oh, this is a trade off. It's the opposite, right? Or when people say, I don't want to be part of the real because I'm scared, because they don't want to show that they're involved in this. It's the opposite, dude. You're going to get more business. I'm not. But I'm not proselytizing people. I'm not saying you got to do this. So it's very, hey, you want to do it? That's cool. If you don't, whatever you want, it's fine.
And I agree with you. I mean, since Marlon joined as an ambassador, we've met tons of people from the real community. So if you're listening and joining the real is something you're considering, it's definitely an amazing approach. It will not hurt you at any level. In fact, it will build you. You will build your business, your relationships, and you will bring a community where you feel healthy, safe, and you're just going on more walks, and that's part of it. I mean, we are loving it. I'm very happy that he joined,
Yeah, and
and
the other
it's
thing I would
it's
say,
benefiting
the
me as
real is like
well.
a sports team, right? So some people, I'm from New York. Some people love the New York Yankees. They're going to paint their house pinstripes. They're going to name their kid Derek Jeter, and that's fine. That's terrific. And some people might go to a game every 10 years, and the same thing with the real. Some people are more involved. Some people less. But it doesn't matter. Not, and I'm not taking it. We're not taking attendance on. Did you do your walk? It doesn't matter. And if you don't have to do it every time or be on every call, it's more just being part of it, and everyone's welcome. And then there'll be parts where maybe you're more involved, less involved. It's all good.
And I, Sean, one of the things that I like doing, both on the personal side and on the cybersecurity side, is do the helicopter approach. It's not a formal term, but it's kind of an approach where you zoom in and out. So if we're looking at, let's zoom out all the way out, from a human perspective. If we remove business, if we just remove everything, what is the best piece of advice that you could give the next generation, from a very high level perspective?
This is tough. I always think, and business too, I always think the relationship is the most important, because if you have because things are going to get fucked up, something's bad's going to happen, and if you have good relationships, you can always get through whatever there is. So I always think that that's the most important thing. I always thought that in business, and it also makes it more fun if you have friends that you're working with your friends. Yeah, in essence. So that's how I look at the business life, right? And the world. And if you have more people that you're connected with in that way, other stuff will happen. Doesn't mean you're going to make tons of dough. Maybe, maybe not. But either way, you're going to kind of enjoy who you're working with, and enjoy the ride.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that.
Thank you, thank you. Sean, has been an amazing conversation. I love that you shared so much about your own personal journey with mental health, and we truly appreciate, and we also embrace the real and the walks. We're part of it. We're very excited to be part of it, and all I have to say is thank you so much for bringing this out into the world, and we're happy we discovered all of this because it's amazing to be part of it, and I can't wait to see how as you continue to move so
No, more to
fast
come,
where
more to
it's
come.
going to
And
lead.
it's basically the people that are involved, right? Now it becomes a little bit of a snowball. You got to push it up the hill, and now it starts to roll down the other side. So it's starting to roll, but you don't want it to roll too fast, and you want to make sure it's not. Then you're on the other side of that, and you're like, I don't want this to roll over me and trample me. So
I,
that's another kind of, I don't know, a skill, but just thing to look out. But it's rolling, and I would say there's a yearning for it. You can feel it with guys. I'm not saying not women, but guys. They're like, oh, this feels good. Okay. Even on we had the phone call, we had like 80 guys, and one of the guys is like, I never been on a phone call with 80 guys. This is crazy, right? So it doesn't matter what anyone really said. It's just okay. I could feel this energy. I'm not getting wacky. It's just felt like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, nice. We're
yes.
looking forward to see how it continues to evolve and continue to be part of it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today, and we look forward to staying in touch.
Great to
And
chat.
let's be real.
See you guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
same here.
Nice. See you, Sean.